Good evening, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news. You have Lauren Boebert landing on the House Oversight Committee. Washington Examiner Lauren Boebert lands spot on powerful House Oversight Committee. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar land Oversight Committee assignments after removal by Democrats. So they were removed. Now they've surpassed Pelosi and Adam Schiff, and others Nadler in terms of their ranking within Congress, or at least in terms of their ability to initiate and investigate Biden and Democrats. This is a complete reversal. So you had Beaufort and Greene without much political influence the last couple of years compared to what they have now. Now, they are far more influential than even Adam Schiff, who was removed from his leadership position at the House Intel. So Schiff is no longer in the House until Committee. Pelosi is no longer Speaker of the House. And Nadler is no longer. He was on the Judiciary. So he's no longer, in terms of he's no longer chairman of the Judiciary Committee. And you have here, the Oversight Committee is in charge of ensuring efficiency, effectiveness and accountability of the federal government and all its agencies. This is along with the judiciary front and center when it comes to impeachment. Okay, you had Nadler, and you had others, impeaching Trump, and it started from the House Judiciary Committee, and House Oversight Committee and the House Intel Committee. All of those Democrats are no longer there. Now you have Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert as top-ranking Republicans and top-ranking congresspeople in these very, very powerful and influential committees. That is a nightmare, for the absolute nightmare for the Democratic Party. And so this is a whole new ballgame. Representative Lauren Boebert, one of the final holdouts, and Kevin McCarthy has been for House Speaker, received a spot on the House Oversight Committee on Tuesday. Now, that is absolutely huge. They've already talked about impeaching Biden, investigating Hunter, and impeaching Biden from the investigations of Hunter. Okay, there's no example, there's nothing that Trump has ever been. Nothing Trump ever did. And nothing he was accused of even comes close to Joe and Hunter and what took place there. Okay. You have government agencies investigating Hunter for years. The fact that he might plead guilty to tax crimes is not even, that's the tip of the iceberg. What they're doing is a public relations stunt. Oh, we'll investigate him. And potentially he'll plead guilty to lesser charges, while at the same time covering up all the investigations and all the actual criminal activity. Okay. So it's the same thing with Clinton servers. And I think she'll be the 24 nominee actually. I don't think they want Biden. I really don't. I think that they want Biden to resign right off into the sunset. And I believe they want Vice President Kamala Harris to take his place. And then Hillary Clinton could be the nominee in 24. I think that's what this whole thing is about. Because if you look, they trumped up, no pun intended, this whole classified data thing with Trump. Okay. So there is no scandal or controversy. They already have all of Trump's documents. They know how he obtained those documents. He was president and he left. You can say, well, he had no right to keep those documents. Well, but Bill Clinton did. And a judge said, well, it's his classified records. He put those records on tape in a sock drawer because he was writing a book. And the judge said, well, you know what? That's Bill Clinton's. And oh, my goodness, thank you. They were next to my underwear. And that was fine. With Trump, he did the same thing. But he took the classified documents when he left the Oval Office in the National Archives and made a big deal out of it, because every government agency is gonna go after Trump. And that's the way Democrats in media roll. They're just gonna always go after Trump in a manner they never did with other presidents. Okay. And he was negotiating. He wasn't stalling, or like he wasn't, in this battle, this epic biblical, cataclysmic battle with the National Archives, a government library. He had every right to have his lawyers negotiate Biden's. Biden right now has his lawyers sifting through possible classified data. They don't even have security clearance. Then they say, oh, well, his lawyers went to the DOJ yet. Well, what are they supposed that? First of all, that's bizarre. But second, they didn't even know he had the classified data. Or maybe they did. And they finally just said, oh, we're finally going to just go in and tell the DOJ anyway. Huge sea change, paradigm shift. You have the Republicans that Democrats obsess over, the most passionate Trump supporters on the planet. Now in the most important, along with McCarthy and Gates, the most important committees in Congress. I don't think people truly understand how different the next couple of years, the next 4 years, the next 2 years before 2423 and 24 will be the two most exciting and paradigm-changing years in American politics in recent memory since 2015. Well, since 2016, I think the next 2 years will make 2016 look like a walk in the park and just, normal, because you have Republicans now in actual positions of power. Paul Ryan, the Adam Kinzinger, Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney type of Republican, that'll just, oh, gosh, the Democrats are such good people as Democrats go after the individuals that 70 million Americans chose, it's not like what media and they never Trump Republicans have tried to do as they might try to make Trump into this anomaly that nobody really likes. The reality is, he got over 70 million Americans, he got over 60 million in 2016. Okay. And what 63 million? Okay. Romney and Paul Ryan had positive media coverage generally compared to what's going on now. And they barely got, I think, 60 million. Okay. I think less than that. Something around there. I forgot exactly. But they lost. And so you have Paul Ryan's calling Trump a loser? It makes no sense because he actually was a loser. He did run for he was vice president, was Romney's vice president. Okay. And there's no electricity there. He's just going to do the same thing in terms of foreign policy as a Democrat. And apparently a lot of Republicans do the same thing as Democrats, shutting down economic activity, but not to the extent. But you need Trump Republicans to oppose the fabricated coerced consensus whether it's about shutting down the economy because a serious issue. I mean, that was only maniacs. That was the brainchild of maniacs, by the way. But listen really quickly. Only love, respect, and happiness for everybody. I want to do this every single day because I don't want people to think that, if you're on either a communist, socialist, left-leaning person, progressive, liberal Democrat, if you're a Trump supporter, never Trump, or if you've independent voting for Trump, like I am. I'm not a Republican or Democrat. But Donald Trump is one of the great presidents that we've had. If you look at accomplishments, just look at policies. Forget about the media hysteria, look at policies, there's no doubt. And next news, House Oversight Committee investigating suspicious bank records concerning Hunter's recorded $49,000 rent deposit payment. Representative James Comer, the House Oversight Committee chairman, is probing Hunter Biden's recorded $49,910 rent deposit payments are the Biden family's suspicious activity reports flagged by U.S. banks. Emails found in Hunter's laptop show that he paid $49,910 rental deposit to the House of Sweden Foreign Office for the Biden family's business venture, with the infamous CFC China Energy Company. Hunter's $49,000 deposit also matches the amount of money he logged as rent for housing on a 2018 background check form. The document additionally indicated Hunter's residence was Joe Biden's home in Wilmington, Delaware, where Biden kept classified documents alongside his Corvette in the garage. Quote, "We've called on Secretary Yellen to provide all suspicious activity reports generated for Biden family members and their associates' shady business transactions, which could shed light on the many questions we have about the Biden family suspicious business schemes," said Representative Comer in April. More than 150 of the Biden family business bank transactions were flagged by United States banks as suspicious. Those flag reports were sent to the Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen for further review to ascertain if the Biden family was engaged in wrongdoing. The Treasury Department has a long-standing practice of disclosing such reports to Congress, but the Biden administration has prevented transparency, raising questions about the likelihood of the Biden family trying to hide its foreign business dealings. Hunter claimed on a background check form that he paid $49,910 in monthly rent from March of 2017 to February of 2018. Listing his father's Delaware home as his residence or classified documents are recently unearthed. The background check also shows Hunter checked the box showing who was the owner of the current residence. It is not clear why 100 noted he owned the location where he paid rent, or why he listed his current address as Joe Biden's residence with rent payments. Oversight Committee is stacked with conservative firebrands. The House Republican Steering Committee on Tuesday selected several conservative firebrands to serve on the Oversight Committee during the 118 Congress. This includes multiple members who previously have their committee assignments stripped by House Democrats. During the previous Congress, the GOP-led House Oversight Committee will be composed of Representatives Kelly Armstrong, Lauren Boebert, Tim Burchett, Byron Donalds, Chuck Edwards, Russell Frey. Major retailer Green Poll ghosts are Nick Langworthy, Gary Palmer and Paulina Luna. Scott Perry, Lisa McClain, Pete Sessions, William Timmons, Jake Ladner, and Eric Burley Sam. The steering committee selections will have to be approved by a vote from the entire House Republican Conference, which, quote, typically approves the steering committee's recommendations. According to reports, in the weeks leading up to the 180th Congress, Biden's White House announced that they would not comply with GOP oversight requests until they officially took majority control of the House. Representatives Green and Gosar's appointments to the Oversight Committee are significant because both members restricted their committee assignments by Democrats during the previous Congress. House Democrats in February of 2021, just 1 month after she took office, voted to remove Green from her committee assignments amid controversy surrounding her social media activity. Then in November of 2021, House Democrats voted to remove Gosar from his committee assignments, which included the Oversight Committee, after probing into his social media as well. Retired FBI executive condemns the seismic shift towards politics inside the Bureau. Former FBI Assistant Director Chris Wecker is imploring the agency to reverse its drift toward politics, saying its recent cultural shift is eating away at its mission and public trust. Quote, "There's been a seismic shift in the culture," he stated, "and it kind of got away from me. I saw it coming a little bit under former Director Robert Mueller, but it was not that pronounced because Mueller was fighting the fight to keep the FBI together. And he knew he had to make some changes. And he had to bring in some outside elements. And it's something that he absolutely had to do." Close quote. Sweater said political influence inside the Bureau intensified under Mueller's successors, James Comey and Christopher Wray. Quote, "That got out of hand, and then comes in Jim Comey and he basically parachutes all these DOJ political appointees into the FBI. And slowly the culture shifts over Comey his tenure," he recalled. He concludes, quote, "And then under Chris Wray, it's accelerated." Sweater, who led the FBI Criminal Investigative Division during his time as an assistant director, said that as a result of changing the hiring requirements, prospective agents are now being selected more on a basis of ideology and idealism, rather than their willingness to enforce the rule of law. Quote, "I think the type of recruit they're bringing in is more opinionated, more idealistic, more liberal. Highly educated, more Ivy League," he stated. He continues, quote, "They tend not to just follow the facts. They tend to insert their own ideologies, their own opinions, because of the indoctrination that's taking place in schools these days. If you're virtuous and highly educated, you can do everybody else's thinking for them." Close quote. Illinois bans assault weapons sales and forces owners to register with police. Governor J.B. Pritzker signed the Protect Illinois Communities Act this week, barring the sale and distribution of so-called assault weapons and paving the way for expedited universal background checks. The bill will prohibit the possession of semi-automatic rifles such as the AR-15, and grants local enforcement authorities the power to add additional firearm bans in the future. Moreover, firearm owners of now restricted weapons must register with the state police. Quote, "For the past 4 years, my administration and my colleagues in the state capitol have been battling the powerful forces of the NRA to enshrine the strongest and most effective gun violence legislation that we possibly can," the governor stated. He continues, quote, "I could not be prouder to say that we got it done. And we will keep fighting bill by bill, vote by vote, and protest by protest." The vote was split virtually along party lines, with Democrats near unanimously supporting the motion and most Republicans opposing it. The outgoing Republican State Minority Leader Jim Durkin became the only party member to cross the aisle ahead of his retirement later that day, marking the culmination of his 22-year career in Illinois politics. The Illinois Freedom Caucus cheered Durkin's departure. Quote, "Jim Durkin has abandoned Republican principles of lower taxes, reduced spending, and standing up for our constitutional rights." Similar sentiments were echoed by departing state Republican Senator Darren Bailey, who insisted, quote, "I and millions of other gun owners in this state will not comply." The Illinois State Rifle Association has announced plans to challenge the bill in court. Illinois is the ninth state to ban the sale of so-called assault weapons. 3.3 million people displaced by natural disasters in the United States last year. Natural disasters displaced more than 3 million Americans in 2022, including nearly 1 million in Florida alone, according to data from the U.S. Census Bureau that has over 1% of the nation's total population. The data indicates that about 3.33 million people were displaced by natural disasters over the past year. The majority were in Florida, whereas such events forced 999,401 people, about 7% of the state's population, from their homes. The state was hit in September by Hurricane 2 in a Category 4 storm that made landfall in the southwest part of the state, killing over 100 people and costing up to $65 billion in insured losses. Louisiana saw a smaller number of people displaced by a greater share of the state's population. The Census Bureau found that 410,000 residents, or 15% of the state's population, were displaced last year. Natural disasters affecting the state in 2022 included multiple tornadoes. The United Nations Refugee Agency has identified natural disaster displacement as one of the climate change's most, devastating impacts. The Biden administration has already taken steps to pay some communities to voluntarily relocate from areas expected to be what the Biden administration calls, increasingly unlivable by the effects of climate change. The Interior Department announced in November that it will provide $25 million each in relocation funds from the Inflation Reduction Act. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Give me your thoughts below and hit subscribe. See you again.